Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Saba show, and we're finally reporting on a Premier League victory for Everton. We were winners 3-0. The scorers Coleman, Keane, and Anthony Gordon. It was Richarlison for a bit there, but we'll discuss everything. This was a win that we needed to get. It was 15th versus 16th. This win gets us up to 22 points and 4 points clear of relegation, if I'm not mistaken. This was a big game. Everton fans were hyping this one up. Pundits were hyping this one up. You already know, or already knew, that there was going to be two very ferocious groups of fans seated at Goodison Park, and well, we rose to the occasion. This was probably the best 90-minute performance from Everton I've seen this season, probably for the majority of last season. I think it was better than Ancelotti ball, if we're going to be honest. But, we dominated. We had, I think, 21 shots or something hectic like that. We dominated the play, especially in the first half. It was an absolute sight to see, and the boys played for the jumper, which is what you want to see on a week-by-week basis. And that's going to have to be the main thing that fuels our ascent up the ladder. So it's a good start today, and we just have to build from it. But first and foremost, a couple observations. The afternoon fixture looks like it's going to be the best fixture for us. The more afternoon games we get, the better it'll be for our system. Because, that possession game, really suits conditions that aren't dewy, because obviously if it's dewy, the ball is a bit harder to control. It gets away from you a little bit more. So afternoon fixture was, we saw how much sharper we were on the ball today in comparison to the Newcastle fixture, which was on a cold Newcastle night. Another observation was that Lampard allows his players to roam. You saw constantly, Jonjo Kenny was left back, but sometimes he'd find himself in the middle. Seamus Coleman will push all the way up the pitch. You've got Iwobi moving across the ground. You've got Gordon moving across the ground. So these guys are allowed to operate in positions that are a bit unfamiliar to them, but it also creates a little bit of unpredictability for the opposition in dealing with these players. We see a lot more players running. Coleman, for example, in Rafa ball, he's not getting that high up the pitch, and it causes a few more issues for the defenders. They got their hands full just a little bit more. And ultimately, we've seen in these games, especially when we've got our passing game going, these guys benefit so much and experience so much success. Just generally speaking, we've seen players that are shit or have been shit for seemingly forever come good in the last couple games. So, is this a sign of more good things to come? Possibly, but it's a bit too early to tell. Now, we look at the man of the match, and you could make a case for a lot of players. We're talking Donny, we're talking Anthony Gordon, but I'm going to give mine to Alex Iwobi. Probably an unpopular opinion, but he was absolutely excellent today. Basically did everything we're asking for from him. He was being a cog defensively with the press. He was getting involved in basically all this link-up play and, making driving runs forward. There were some quality passes in there to give us some opportunities on goal. DCL's shot on goal in the first half comes to mind. I'm having a look at stats here. 61 total touches, 13 attacking third passes, so you're getting an idea of where he was getting the ball. And then he created 5 chances. He also had 6 ground duels won and 9 ball recoveries, which is basically going to show his work on the defensive side of the ball. So he was absolutely brilliant. If we talk about other players, Jonjo Kenny was great, playing in a left-back role. Obviously, he's naturally a right-back, but he defied the odds and played a very solid game at left-back. You've got Donny Van De Beek, who first game starting 11 for Everton was absolutely exceptional. I'm having a look at my notes here. It was very composed on the ball, which is something we've lacked in past seasons, past weeks. But he really brings something that a lot of Everton players don't. A lot of calm on the ball. Upon arrival, I also overlooked his defensive ability, but I was very surprised with, how good he was today, the hunger that he showed on the pitch, especially when, there were times where I didn't think he was going to try challenge, but he did, and he won the ball, and then he did something productive with it. So that's something we've, been crying out for so long. We look at Holgate, who was very solid. He put a foot in on a challenge that would have seen Dan James get a clear shot on goal, but he stuck his foot in. He could have easily given away a penalty, but he was very, very disciplined in that regard. We look at Dele Alli, who wasn't on for too long, but, I saw probably one of the best passes, probably the best pass we've had all season into the box. Dele Alli, he wasn't even close to the box. It was more so a through ball than a cross. It's curled around the defenders, and Rondon has nearly scored the goal of his life on the full, without the ball touching the floor. It was a full-on volley. It was absolutely pelted at Meslier, and somehow he stuck one arm out, basically prayed to God that he saved it, and he did. So that would have topped off what was a very solid performance by the whole Everton team. But, I mean, if we can see more of Ali and that special service into the box, that is going to, that's going to go so far in helping our rise up the table. We're going to quickly discuss a couple of quick strategies that I did pick up in today's game. First and foremost, we're going to talk about the three-man defense. Now, obviously, we've barely played a three-man defense, or three centre-backs, should I say. And if we did, it would usually be in, a back five. Now, Lampard's decided to opt with a 3-4-3 for quite a few, if not all his games that he's managed at Everton so far. And, well, today we saw the benefits of that. Seamus Coleman, this is how he scored his first goal. He was allowed to go forward as a centre-back with freedom, get involved in the passing chain, and basically get on the end of what was, a bit of a jammy goal. But it was actually fairly clinical in how we got to the position of scoring that jammy goal. It was just some good quick passes. Donny Van De Beek, very well-timed run after Gordon did a little redirect pass. And then, basically DCL and Seamus did the rest. But the reason Seamus was in that position to score was basically because this formation permits the two centre-backs to remain back and sort of adopt a back four formation. So Iwobi and Kenny can push back. Obviously, Kenny is more suited to that because he is a fullback by trade. But these guys can go back as Coleman goes forward, and it is essentially a back four. Then Gordon and Richarlison can also move back just a little bit if they need to support. But the good thing about today was our press was so good that Leeds never really had the opportunity to make us vulnerable and basically leave Holgate and Keane on an island that they had to deal with all these Leeds players pushing forward because they never got past halfway. So it was a very good system we had going, and in the scenario of Coleman scoring, well, it worked out an absolute treat. Coleman, if he wasn't there, that ball's not going in. And it basically fueled, how we went on and basically asserted ourselves for the rest of the game. That got the Everton crowd up and about. And you saw, I think on the Fozcast, Ben Foster's podcast, he said that if the Everton crowd are silenced, then you can basically get on top of Everton. Well, Leeds did the complete opposite. They gave the Everton crowd a lot of confidence after we scored the first. And then basically Leeds didn't really stand a chance because Everton and their fans were up and about. The players fed off the fans' energy. Okay, so we're going to talk about something else. I don't even know if that made sense, but we're going to talk about something that I'm going to call the five-man conga line. Now, the reason I call it this is, as seen through this screenshot, Calvert-Lewin is putting his arm on the shoulder, or his hand on the shoulder of Mason Holgate, which sort of gives the impression that it is a conga line, but what it actually is a device to confuse the Leeds defense. And basically what they'll do is, as soon as Gordon kicks the ball and crosses it in, they will spread very, very quickly. And this will sort of confuse the Leeds defense. Obviously, you know, they have to organize themselves to pick a specific player up. They've obviously got an assignment, but it's still going to confuse the shit out of them, depending on where these Everton players spread to. And ultimately, Keane found himself with a free header, not really because he was unmarked, but because he used strike as a stepladder. Got over the top, got higher than him, and basically no one really stood a chance of stopping him, and Meslier didn't really stand a chance of saving it either, because the placement was so good. So that's another little observation there. And it was actually a byproduct of, you know, what we did a couple weeks ago against Brentford. There was one goal that we scored off a header that was created because of a high press, which forced the back line into the corner, near the corner flag, and we were able to force a turnover through pressure. And this time around, it wasn't us regaining possession, but Richarlison was somehow able to deflect it off a Leeds player and get it out of play through his pressure. The other time, it was Anthony Gordon forcing the turnover and actually gaining possession, crossing it in, and Brentford cleared it. So a little bit different, but you know, the similarities are pretty much the same. It's just a byproduct of this high press and how the press benefits, you know, this good play. It's positive and it creates goals. And then we briefly brush over the third goal, and it was Anthony Gordon who scored it. Initially, it didn't look that way. Richarlison goes on his left, and it looked like it was just a perfectly placed shot into the bottom corner, but it actually came off Gordon, who did a little bit of a back heel, and it was probably the luckiest unintended redirect I've ever seen. And it also went down as probably the sealer. Then you obviously had that fourth goal that could have occurred if it wasn't for a Meslier save off the boot of Rondon. But we don't talk about those. It didn't go down as a goal. But nonetheless, it was basically the icing on the cake for what was a very convincing victory for Everton, and much needed. Anyway, that's going to be it from me. I do hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the show. We do these every week. We've got Southampton coming up. It's going to be interesting. Southampton in a good patch of form recently. Did beat Tottenham at home. Also drew to Manchester United at Old Trafford. Mind you, United aren't great. But Southampton are, you know, in a good patch of form. So it's going to be a test for us. But based off what I saw today, I'm very excited to see what we can do against this Southampton team. And we beat them last time we played them 3-1. So hopefully we can replicate that and pick up the 3 points once again. So yeah, drop a like, subscribe. It's simple shit. But thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.